This is Night School at InternetBusinessBeginners.com.
All right, so today I want to talk about keywords. This is one of those subjects that's horribly misunderstood, and it's a word that's bantered about on the internet, and I think even a lot of the so-called gurus don't really understand what's meant by a keyword. And so I'm here to set the record straight. So what is a keyword? A keyword ultimately is just some point of focus in any piece of content you're creating. So as an example, in this video right now, my keyword happens to be keyword, or possibly the plural keywords. It's the point of focus. It is the word you use most often. So what does this mean? Well, it means anytime you create a piece of content, it is filled with keywords. It's whatever the keyword, or whatever the point of focus rather, is on whatever you're writing. So the trick to writing content that's keyword rich is to figure out exactly what it is that you're saying and say it the same way several times in your content. So, well, let's cover some of these things. I mean, let's talk about the points of confusion. A lot of the guys that I've talked to have said, well, what about meta tags? Well, meta tags are a piece of HTML. It's a chunk of code inside of your post or your page or whatever, the chunk of HTML that describes your page to search engines. That's what meta means. It's about whatever you're writing. Now, a number of years ago, 10, maybe 15 years ago, there was a meta keyword that was called, meta tag that was called meta keyword. And what you could do is you could tell the search engine that this page is about this particular topic. That was the concept behind it. And it allowed the search engines to index pages that were more relevant based on those keywords that were put in. Now, the concept was a good one, but it required all of the content writers to be honest about the keywords that they put in. And there were some problems with the search engine spiders, their algorithms, that you could put in, say, the keyword 5 times. You just enter it with a comma in between keyword, 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 keyword. And you would rank higher on that particular keyword, which I just realized I've used it far too many times for it to be real relevant to search engines. That's called keyword stuffing, which we're going to go into shortly. But what you're doing by putting that many keywords into your meta keyword tag is you're telling the search engine, hey, it's like you're shouting at it. You're saying, hey, this is what I'm all about. And the search engine's caught on to this. And so what they've started to do is actually penalize people that do this. The meta keyword tag still exists, but it's one that you got to be cautious with. I mean, use it, but use it sparingly. It's not actually going to improve your ranking on most of the search engines. There are a couple of the smaller ones that still use it. But the big 3, you know, you got your Google, Bing, and Yahoo, they all but ignore it. But there is another meta keyword, or excuse me, another meta tag that is worth taking a close look at, and that's the meta description. Now, inside of the description, I should back up and describe exactly how it works. When you do a search, and we'll use Google as our example, when you do a search for, well, let's use the example of web design. If you did a search and you typed in Google and said web design and hit search, you'd end up with millions and millions and millions of responses. And what comes up in those responses is a nice blue link. And inside that link, you would find the words web design. But underneath, there's a snippet of text. Now, that text can come from one of a couple of places. If you don't think about it, what it will do is it actually goes through its index. So when I say it, I mean Google will go through its index and say, okay, here's all of the text inside that page. This chunk of text is most relevant to that particular keyword, web design in this case. And so it would take a few words and put it all in just right underneath the tag. And then it says last cache and a few other goodies there, and you click on that. and it highlights your keyword that you searched for inside that text and also in the link. But that's fairly random. You're basically leaving it to Google to figure out exactly what it is that you want to say. So if you use the meta description tag and you write a short description of what your post or blog post or article or white paper or what have you is all about, just a quick number of words, what will happen is Google will use that instead of the snippet of text out of your post itself. And so you actually have some control how you show up to the end user. Because this is something that you got to really think about. When you write something, you're not writing for search engines. Search engines don't buy stuff from you. Search engines don't sign up to email newsletters. Search engines don't take any action. All they do is they take a look at your page and they serve it out to people. So ultimately, it's people that you're angling for. So all of this keyword stuff and SEO and SEM and all of these fancy three-letter acronyms, they all boil down to trying to get more people to your site. You know, you think about clicks, you think about views, you think about all of these terms that get bantered about. But really, what you're looking for is a few pairs of eyeballs to come and look at your page and hopefully take some sort of action. So whenever you write any piece of content, whether it's the meta description, your post, your title, anything along those lines, think about the person first and then think about the search engine. Write your piece of content so it makes sense to a person, so it's something that matters to a human being. And then after the fact, come back and think about modifying this and that to make it a little more keyword rich. So as an example, we'll take our web design example. I'm going to do a blog post about web design. And my ultimate goal is to get small businessmen to sign up to my email newsletter about web design, and specifically about designing websites for small businesses, hypothetically speaking. So if I created that and I wrote my web post and I read through it and I used the phrase web design, I used web development, I used programming for the web, I used graphic design for the internet. You know, we got 4 different things that I'm saying. Well, as I read it, it makes a lot of sense to a person, but those things can effectively be synonyms. They're all essentially the same thing. I'm trying to say the same thing. So in that case, what I would do is I would take each of these ones that are different than my main focus keyword, so in this case, web design, and I would change them. So if I had a phrase about how web development can really affect the bottom line of small businesses, I would change that after the fact to say web design can really affect the bottom line of small businesses. And by doing this, you actually increase the number of keywords, specifically your focus keyword, that is in my content. And this is what it's called is increasing your keyword density. You want to have a certain number of keywords, a certain number of the same keyword within any specific piece of content. But you don't want to use it too many times. As we said, it's the same as the meta keyword tag. You don't want to use the same keyword 500 times in any one block of text. What will happen is the search engines will take a look at that and say, no, that's not really angling for people to come. That's just for search engines, and they penalize you. You actually end up further down in the list than where you would be otherwise. So, I mean, all of these things that we're talking about, this is all on-site SEO. Okay, and by SEO, I mean search engine optimization. Most people watching this video will know that, but I'll clarify. So this is all things that you do specifically on your site. But what can you do out on the rest of the internet? Well, keywords still come into play there. Generally, I mean, the way that search engines work is they bring links back to you. And each of those links count as a vote for your content. So if your content, again, taking web design, if your content is all about web design, what you would do is you would create links, whether they're in directories or a Squidoo page or, hey, a Facebook post or really anywhere you can, any place that you have some control over the anchor text. So instead of saying, hey, click here to find a page about web design, you would actually take the words web design and you would make them the link coming back to your site. And by doing that, you're creating essentially a vote for your site on that particular keyword or key phrase. And this is called offsite SEO. So you got onsite SEO and offsite SEO. Onsite is all about thinking about content and structuring your page so that it's friendly for the search engines to spider, or crawl if you prefer the term. Offsite SEO is all about how do I look on the web and how many votes can I get from other places. So those are the two basic concepts. Now, a subset of keywords is long-tail versus short-tail keywords. So the easiest way to describe this is with an example. If we use web design as our example, web design is what's called a short-tail keyword. It's only 2 words, so it's technically a short-tail key phrase. But it's one that's very, very competitive. There are millions of sites on the internet that are all about web design. But there are fewer sites on the internet that are all about web design for small business, or, to tighten that up a little bit, small business web design. Now this is, instead of it being 2 words long, is now 4 words long, or if you put in small business, it's 5 words long. So it's a phrase that gets searched for significantly less. But those that are searching for something that specific are interested in taking some sort of action. Generally, they're more interested than people just doing a general search. And you're finding people that are interested, well, in a more specific subject matter. So if we take web design as your keyword could mean, how do I design a web page? How do I program things? What is the hosting like? What does web marketing look like? It could cover a whole host of topics. But small business web design is fairly specific to small businesses looking for a website to be designed. And so if you focus on long tail keywords, you'll find that it's a bit more of a long game. You don't have as many people coming in, but those that come in are much more likely to take some action. So how do you figure all this stuff out? I mean, we're talking tons of content. We're talking, do you have to take every word and count them all up? And 10 years ago, that was something that you needed to do. But nowadays, there are tools both on websites in your engine itself, whether that's WordPress or Joomla or Drupal or whatever you're using, and offsite. There are programs you can download onto your computer and use to figure out some of this keyword research. The one that I recommend for most people starting out is for WordPress specifically. Again, most people, this is what they're using when they first start out. And it's called WordPress SEO by Yoast. Now that's like toast, but with the letter Y, so Y-O-A-S-T. And what this plugin does, it's a free plugin, by the way. It's a good price. What this plugin does is it actually adds a block of controls right underneath your content area. So when you're writing, you got all of your text in there and you've got it all formatted the way you want. Right underneath there is a little piece of text, basically, and it has an entry box that says focused keyword. And you type in your focus keyword. So if I was writing a post about web design for small businesses, I would put my focus keyword as small business web design. And it would go through and it actually analyzes all of my content. Now that includes the post itself, the meta description, the titles, the heading links, all of the details that frankly are a bit technical. I mean, it's a bit of a pain in the rear to have to go and count this stuff up all yourself. The system does it for you. And in the second tab over, it actually offers suggestions for how to improve on that, whether it's both on-site and off-site. It's an excellent tool, particularly for beginners, because the recommendations that it gives are fantastic. So, if you want tips like this, you want to learn all sorts of new stuff, you want to check out Night School, the very best place that you can go is internetbusinessbeginners.com and sign up right now for our free 7-day course, and we will give you all sorts of wonderful information, and it will help you get going on your internet business. Have a good one.